Hello and welcome to our presentation on the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign. My name is Renata Lucas and I'm the Health Promotion Team Leader at Women's Health Goulburn North East. We are one of the 9 specialist regional women's health services in Victoria, covering 12 local government areas across Goulburn Valley and North East Victoria. As a health promotion agency, we specialise in a transformative change approach to project implementation and evaluation, workforce development and training. Our core priorities include gender equity, prevention of gender-based violence, sexual and reproductive health, economic empowerment, and gender and disaster. The aim of this presentation is to provide an overview of the 16 Days campaign, starting with the international and statewide context before drilling down on the local work and providing ideas for you to be able to incorporate actions into your everyday life. For those of you that are promoting the 16 Days campaign within your workplace or community, a template version of this presentation is available on our website for you to adapt and deliver in your particular setting. Whilst this presentation has a prevention focus and frames the content from a gender equity perspective, we do talk about gender-based violence and disrespect as well. And these types of reflective conversations can sometimes bring up uncomfortable feelings for some people. And so if that happens, I encourage you to reach out for support. Statewide service information is included at the end of this presentation if you or anyone else you know needs them. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the wisdom, living culture and connection of the traditional custodians of the unceded lands on which we work and acknowledge the profound disruption of colonisation and the stolen generations on Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. At Women's Health, we are intersectional in our approach, and I am proud to stand beside generations of great women whose work has brought us closer to equality for all. I would also like to make special mention here that whilst I am the one delivering this presentation, behind the scenes it has been an incredible team effort, so I would like to pay tribute and acknowledge my colleagues Rachel, Casey and Lauren for their brilliance in producing content for this resource. So, the 16 Days campaign, what is it about? If you've been involved in a 16 Days campaign in recent years, you may recall that at this time of the year, the colour orange is used a lot, and many communities often mark the event by organising walks or marches and sharing key messages of action. The 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence campaign is a call to action to emphasise that gender-based violence against women is a fundamental violation of human rights. Beginning on the 25th of November, which is International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women, the campaign spans 16 days to finish on the 10th of December, which is World Human Rights Day. And these dates were specifically chosen to link violence against women and human rights. The campaign was launched in 1991 by the Centre for Women's Global Leadership, and this year the 2020 theme is From Awareness to Accountability. So, 30 years on, why do we still need a global campaign? Well, unfortunately, the statistics tell us that globally, gender-based violence against women continues to occur at alarming rates. And too often, it is accepted as normal behaviour, and the global culture of discrimination against women allows violence to occur largely unchecked. The term gender-based violence describes violence rooted in gender-based power, inequality, and discrimination. And people of all genders can experience gender-based violence, including transgender and/or non-binary people. The statistics that are presented here are at the general population level as a whole, and it demonstrates the pervasiveness of the issue, and it does not discriminate. However, there are certain gendered patterns in the data that are important to note to then be able to develop tailored responses. For example, 1 in 6 women have experienced physical and/or sexual violence at the hands of a current or former cohabiting partner. This is compared to 1 in 16 men. In Australia, the most unsafe place for a woman is her own home. Women are at greater risk of family, domestic and sexual violence than men, and they are more likely to know the perpetrator, and the violence usually takes place in their home. Men experience violence too, but are more likely to experience violence from strangers in a public place. Calls for action like the 16 Days of Activism campaign are crucial because they shine a spotlight on the issue of gender-based violence and highlight what needs to change to prevent it from happening in the first place. So it's clear that gender-based violence against women is a global problem and it requires global action. And you may get the sense that because it's such a widespread issue, there isn't much individuals can do in their own local area. However, here's the good news. Gender-based violence against women is preventable, and promoting and normalising gender equality is at the heart of the solution. This is captured in an evidence-based national framework called Change the Story, which is developed by Our Watch. A common saying is, not every act of disrespect leads to violence, but every act of violence starts with disrespect. Research has found that when there are unequal power relations and unequal value and respect shown to men, women, and gender diverse people, that these then create broader conditions in society that produce violence. So to address gender inequality as the root cause of the problem, we must look beyond the individual and at the broader culture that subtly shapes attitudes towards violence. A long-term approach is needed to achieve cultural change. However, many small actions can make a big difference collectively. Everyone has a role to play in challenging harmful stereotypes, norms, and structures that perpetuate inequality and disrespect. Because when gender equality exists, we all benefit. At the Victorian level, Respect Victoria is responsible for coordinating the 16 Days of Activism campaign in partnership with the Municipal Association of Victoria. Respect is the theme of the 2020 campaign. This is a positive message that aims to support Victorian communities to unpack what respect means, what it looks like, and how to put it into practice in homes, relationships, workplaces, friendships, and communities. Respect sits at the core of all safe, healthy, and equal relationships. All 79 local governments across the state and an additional 18 non-government organisations, including ourselves at Women's Health, received small grants to promote the Respect Is campaign in their local communities. With this campaign, individuals are being invited to think about and talk about what respect looks like in their everyday lives. That includes in relationships, families, workplaces, and communities. To call out disrespect, sexism, harassment, and abuse when it is safe to do so. And to make the link between gender equality and gender-based violence against women. By getting involved in the Victorian campaign, we all have an opportunity to support our communities to understand what gender equality looks like and how striving for equality and respect can prevent gender-based violence. At the regional level, this year, Women's Health is advocating for communities to move beyond awareness raising and towards tangible action, weaving women's rights and gender equality into our everyday behaviour, practice, and the economic, cultural, and social fabric of our communities. Shifting the focus from awareness to accountability is perhaps even more important this year due to the gendered impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some things that you can get involved in immediately is to check out the 16 Days regional campaign and participate in the many wonderful and online events, and also add your own if you're doing something. Follow the Women's Health socials for daily posts and blogs about the spheres of action and how you can integrate these into your daily life and world. You can use our template presentation to deliver your own in your workplace and start the conversation with your colleagues. Or alternatively, you can share this presentation and host a facilitated lunchtime discussion. Or you could also share what respect means to you and get involved in the Victorian campaign through local governments. Start a conversation at home and with your social groups. So it is clear that there is lots of great work happening at the global, state and regional levels. But what might this look like for individuals in their everyday life? It might be as simple as starting to think about and reflect on some of the conversations you have in your social and work settings, as well as the things you see in the media and popular culture. What are some of the everyday terms that are routinely used in general conversations, and what messages do they send about gender stereotypes and roles? For example, what does it mean when someone uses the term like a girl or man up? What does it mean when a father is babysitting his children? Is he not being a parent? When a leader who is female makes assertive decisions that may be considered unpopular by some, why are they called bossy? These are only a couple of examples, and I'm sure you will also have your own to contribute to the broader discussion. To explore gender equity in practice a bit more, I've taken one of the many examples that are part of our 16 Days social media campaign. There is a toolkit on our website if anyone would like to use these beautiful tiles to promote their own messages. One of the key essential actions in the Change the Story national framework is to promote women's independence and decision making. So often, women are excluded from the highest levels of decision making, whether it's in government or business sectors or in the community. So how can we start to enact change in our local area? Workplaces are somewhere that people spend a great deal of their time, and therefore they can play a huge part in influencing the attitudes, behaviours and social norms through their everyday conversations and how respect is modelled in the workplace. Workplace systems, such as policies and procedures, can also unintentionally perpetuate gender inequality. This can result in biased recruitment and promotion processes, the underrepresentation of women in senior roles, and the unequal sharing of care responsibilities. By conducting a workplace audit of staffing demographics, you can start to build a picture of where some of the inequities and barriers lie, and begin to open up conversations about how to work towards a more gender equitable workplace that values and reflects diversity. In Victoria in particular, the introduction of the Gender Equality Act will go a long way to facilitating public entities to have a gender equity action plan by October 2021. So you have the power to bring gender equality into your life, your work, your community, and your world. Once you start to see gender in all of these everyday situations, you become part of the critical community for change. So I encourage you to be curious about the world you live in and start to make ripples that way. Systemic change starts with learning. If you are interested in having a further look at any of the topics covered today, here is a list of key resources. They include the global campaign, the Victorian campaign, our website with resources and toolkits, and the 16 Days calendar of events, the Our Watch website for the evidence-based Change the Story framework, and the Anne Rose website, which has data on national community attitudes to gender-based violence and gender equality. And as mentioned at the beginning, if you or anyone you know needs support, please use these helplines and take care of yourself and each other. Thank you to each and every one of you for taking the time to tune into this presentation. There is already an incredible amount of transformative work happening across the region, and we know that for many of you, like us at Women's Health, this is something that we are all fighting for each and every day of the year. The 16 Days campaign provides us with an important opportunity each year to showcase this work, grow the awareness more broadly, and use this collective momentum to engage more individuals, organisations and communities to work on long-term efforts together. So if you or your organisation would like to know how you can be involved in gender equity initiatives beyond the campaign, please get in touch. We'd love to link you into our many partnerships and projects. Thank you.